Hello friends, welcome back to the shop and to the beginning of a new series where we're going to be working on a restoration of this Ropp Cherrywood. Now, if you're anything like me, you've seen Ropps. You've probably seen folks like Pipe Tree show off some Ropp pipes. Also, I believe Danny Shore has a few Ropp pipes, and they're really quite beautiful. They've got this very distinctive, or at least this type of Ropp pipe has this very distinctive bark exterior to the stummel and to the shank. These are cherry woods that are literally made of cherry wood, and yeah, they're unmistakable when you see them. But I didn't really know very much about the history of these pipes or the history of Ropp, so I did a little bit of research on that, and it turns out that it's fairly interesting. So Ropp is a very old company. It was founded by a man named Eugene Ropp, who was French, and Eugene Ropp lived from 1830 until 1907. He acquired a patent for the cherrywood pipe, and by cherrywood this means a pipe that is literally made out of cherry wood, not just the shape, but the wood is cherry. He acquired a patent for that in 1869 and very quickly set up a workshop and began producing them. He was successful, and in, I believe, around 1890, he moved to a factory site and basically established a very large factory, which continued to make cherrywood pipes up until the 1970s. Now, they did eventually get into making briar pipes as well, and expanded the catalog, but they consistently made the actual cherrywood pipes up until 1970. So I've got a few pictures here. There's a website, and I will try to put a link down below to this website that I found, which was put together by the French government. And apparently there is I say apparently because my understanding of the French language is basically non-existent. But from what I could gather, there's an attempt to preserve the factory site as a cultural and historical site of significance, in particular to French manufacturing and technology. So that would be a great thing, because as you'll see from some of these pictures that I'm going to show, it was really a very, very impressive factory. I had difficulty finding too many numbers, but the numbers that I saw were that the factory produced hundreds of thousands of pipes per year, and I believe that their peak year was somewhere around 500,000 or over 500,000 pipes produced in 1 year. So a really impressive number of these things have been made. So I'm going to put a few pictures up here and just quickly talk through them. This picture is just a picture of the factory itself, the factory site. It had multiple buildings. You can see it's just a huge sprawling complex. And the site was chosen by Eugene Ropp for two reasons. One is that there was an abundance of wild cherry trees in the area, and he needed the wild cherry trees as the raw material for making these pipes. And the second is that it was near a river, and you can see the river off in the background there. The river, it was necessary because it was needed as a source of power for the factory. They used water wheels to turn belt drives to run all of the machinery. In the next picture, you'll see what is really just a small corner of part of the factory. This appears to be an area that would have been used for assembly and finishing, and most of these pictures were taken after the factory shut down in the 1970s. So this is basically an abandoned site that you're looking at right now. But you can see the partially assembled pipes there, the parts for the pipes, and finishing equipment. In this next picture, there's a very ingenious and frankly a little bit frightening looking device that was used to face off the cherry blanks. And you can see the cherry blank there clamped in those large jaws, and then that large spinning blade would spin, and the blank would be moved into it, and it would just create a nice clean surface. And I would imagine that could be done at an angle to produce the cherrywood shape like you see in the pipe here. And the last picture is really neat. This is a vintage photo of the shop actually in action. So this is people working in the shop. It was apparently found in the factory. They had these photographs taken and were hanging up or something like that. So this is actually a photograph that was taken while the factory was active. And you see work in progress here. You can't really see what type of work. Notice a large number of women were employed. Very often in these old photos you see women working on the finishing steps of the pipe, you know, the buffing and the waxing. There's also several men in this area too. Not that that matters, I just thought it was interesting. And the thing that I find most fascinating about this photo is you can see these large belt drives starting up in the rafters on those giant pulleys and coming down to each workstation, and that's providing the power probably for buffing or maybe sanding wheels in this case. But it's also how all the equipment would be powered. So all the lathes, all the drills, everything in this factory were powered by those belt drives, and those belts were moved by the river passing by outside and turning a water wheel. So just really interesting little bit of history there. All right, so let's take a look at our subject for this restoration. So this is a Ropp, I'll see if I can get the focus to show you what's written on the bottom here. Ropp Deluxe, made in France. And then there's a number there that I believe is 917, probably a shape indication. I don't know. I'll have to try to do some more research on that. The exterior of the stummel itself is really in very good condition. It's a bit dirty. Not sure if that's just a... Yeah, I think that's actually just part of the bark there. But really in very good shape. Just needs to be cleaned, essentially. The interior of the tobacco chamber is quite caked over. Going to take a lot of reaming there, but that's not going to be too difficult. We should be able to ream that out nicely and restore it with no problem. The shank itself is in fairly good condition. There's a few little defects, like right in here. And also on the underside here, you can see there's a bit here where it looks like it might have been smashed in some way, or maybe dropped against the corner of a table or something. So we're going to need to, we just want to make sure that doesn't continue to, you know, to have the bark peel off or anything. So we may have to do something to sort of reinforce that. But otherwise, this is all in really, really good shape. One of the unique things about these pipes is that the shanks are removable. They screw into the stummel. And a lot of times when you get these, the threads are in very poor condition, and they just simply don't work well anymore. Oftentimes they're actually just wrapped with something and jammed back in, or whittled down and jammed in rather than threaded. But you can see here, these threads are actually in really good shape. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think this is going to really be no problem at all restoring the, I won't put that back on right now, but restoring the stummel and the shank. Where I'm a little worried is the stem. So you can see the stem is not fully seated. That's how I received this pipe, and that's how it was sold. I mean, I'm not blaming the seller, but I did receive it that way. And you can see that when I remove it, there's actually quite a bit of something that looks like wood, or maybe what used to be wood cork or something like that around the stem, and that's also quite evident here on the interior of this. I don't know if you're going to be able to catch that or not. I'm going to bring the light in from under. No, it's not going to work. It looks almost like there maybe, and again I have to research this a bit, but maybe there was actually a cork gasket that was used on these to seat the stem, because it really doesn't seem like it's wood. It seems more like cork. I was originally concerned that it was, oh I'm sorry, I'm out of shot there, concerned that it was like pith or something like that from the stem, and that was, because this is actually a stem off of a cherry tree. So I was afraid that it was essentially rotting from moisture or something, but as I look at this, I don't think so. I think this was actually something that was wrapped around the tenon here to improve the fit. So we can certainly clean that out and hopefully come up with a way to improve the fit without resorting to whatever that stuff is. So hopefully that's all that is just an attempt at home repair rather than a indication that this is rotting or anything. So the stem itself is in really excellent shape. That Ropp logo is oops. That Ropp logo is really quite prominent. If I could get it to focus. In really nice condition. There's some relatively minor oxidation. A little bit more up here. Small amount of tooth chatter on the top. Absolutely nothing that's going to be difficult to fix. So really, what we got here is a lot of cleaning, some treatment of the shank here, just to make sure that it doesn't continue to fall apart, essentially, or make sure that it doesn't begin to fall apart. And dealing with whatever this stuff is, and possibly needing to find a way to refit this stem, and that could be a bit of a challenge. So that's really the one hold up here, but nothing that we can't deal with. And then once we've got this all done, I think it will make a very attractive pipe, and hopefully will be a nice smoker. And from what Pipe Tree and Danny have both said, this is going to be a really nice addition to my collection, because I don't have a Ropp, and I've heard nothing but good things about the way the Cherrywood smoke. So I thank you for watching this. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the history and seeing the layout of this rather unique pipe. If you're not subscribed and you would like to, you'll get updates on when I continue on this project, and I do hope to be tying this up in probably 2 more installments. So if you want to know when those 2 videos are coming out, just click on the subscribe button. I appreciate all your likes and comments. I love getting questions and also getting tips from all of you out there, so please feel free to add a comment if you'd like to. So with that, I'm going to tie this up, and I will see you next week with when we will begin the work. Thank you, and until then, I'll look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Goodbye now.